All right. Well, welcome to I would say the first recording of My Connect, where we are going to try to meet women who are leading women's ministries across the state and kind of share a little bit about what they're doing. My name is Jessica Wimmer, and I'm the MiWomen director for the women's ministry here in Michigan. And today we have Missy with us, and we're going to learn a little bit more about um, some of the things that she's doing in the women's ministry, along with her dynamic and powerful team up there. So, um, welcome, first of all, Missy.
Thanks. It's
Yeah,
good to
I'm
be
so,
here.
yeah, we've had some computer issues, so I just want to thank Missy again for being willing to spend the last hour or so just navigating the system of Zoom. And
Mhm.
hopefully, this is being recorded, and you guys, the ladies out there, will be able to hear some amazing, maybe nuggets that you can implement in your own women's ministry.
Mhm.
First of all, Missy, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're at.
Sure. I am in St. Ignace, which is right above the bridge. So once you cross the Mackinac Bridge, we're the first exit, and we are lead pastors and have been here for 9 years at Lighthouse Assembly. I am also a nurse. I work full time on a crisis for mental health unit. I'm an artist and I have painting classes in my community. And let's see, I'm a mom of two girls. They're 15 and 11, Michaela and Hannah. And then we've been here for 9 years, like I said, and started out with a church of 10 members, and we're growing, and it's wonderful.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, I would like to kind of put a little plug in. I better silence my phone now that we're on here. Put a little bit of plug that you are going to be at the My Women Women's Ministry Retreat or Women's
Mhm.
Retreat at Lost Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I heard you're going to kind of lead a painting, a canvas art, right?
I am. Yeah, I'm excited. I got the painting done. We're going to do a jar with flowers, and people can just kind of throw in whatever colors and flowers they want. It's going to be really fun. So I
Oh,
love
that's great. So hopefully we can bring it back on here and maybe get a promo so we can get some excitement and synergy going for the
it.
retreat.
Yeah.
But tonight we're talking about women's ministry, and so I think that the next thing that I would like to kind of just bring on into the conversation is um, where the women's ministry was at when you arrived at the church and kind of what vision you had envisioned in your team. I always try to include the team because they're very critical at the overall success. So where were you guys at in the beginning 9 years
Um,
ago?
well, in the beginning, there wasn't any women's ministry going on that I remember. It's been a little bit, but I think they had done some women small groups on and off before we came, and I continued to do that, but I haven't been as successful as I would like, I guess. But I run a small groups. I try to run one at least once a year for just women. I have not done it every year, and I've had a little trouble building a team. But recently, a woman named Renee started coming to our church, and she wanted to do a few things with women's ministry. So for me, that was super helpful because then I had someone on my team, and I wasn't just doing it by myself. So it's always good to have some accountability and someone who pushes you to say, hey, let's do this. And so I'm leading, but I kind of at some point see her maybe just taking over, which would be fine with me. I mean, I love women's ministry and want to stay involved, but also just want to champion everybody in our church who feels called to do something and be their cheerleader, coach, that sort of thing. So move in that direction.
I think what a great, I don't know what leadership qualities there of champion other people, and definitely that's Renee. Um, And so this year, this previous year, you guys, the ladies up there offered a Christmas tea.
Mhm.
So if you could just touch on what were the previous Christmas teas like, and then kind of fill us in just kind of on an overview of this last year, 2019 it would be.
Yeah, so Renee, when she joined our church, had done a Christmas tea on her own in the past and felt a heart for women in the community. And so she wasn't super connected with a church. So she just did it on her own at a coffee shop and brought in a speaker and wanted to keep doing it and have it grow. So when she joined our church, she said, hey, would you be okay with this? Can I do this through the church? And it was like, yeah, I mean, the way she described it to me was super intriguing because she has the table hosts running each table. So a woman will sign up to be a table host and she'll bring the decorations, she'll bring the food. So we do like an appetizer and a bunch of desserts. So they'll do the place settings. Everything that's needed for that table comes from that table host. And it was our desire to involve other churches in the community. And it's something that's unique about our community is that our churches work well together. It's not something I've had in any other town I've lived in, but for us, we invited women from other churches, not just our church, to host tables. And the idea in the past was for each table host to invite people to their table, fill up their own table, and bring everything that's needed. We're supposed to bring someone that didn't know the Lord, somebody they wanted to bless, different things like that. So we did that once here, and we had about like 45 people. And then the next year, I want everybody to come to this because everyone who came loved it. And I said, what do you think about just having an open invitation and have each table host welcome whoever comes in the door and wants to sit at their table? And so we tried it, and we doubled our attendance. And in fact, this year we had our speaker was Tony Lee Cullison, and we had people just pouring in the door after the reports of this horrible snowstorm coming. It had started, and we had all these rooms set up, or all of our tables set up anyways. And the people that were coming in the door, I'm counting them and I'm going, I don't know if I have enough seats for all these ladies. It's kind of like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And ended up, because of the snowstorm, we fit everybody in. But if the snowstorm had not happened and the people that had messaged or texted or called and said, I'm sorry, I can't come, would have overflowed our tables. So having that open invitation for the community was a huge deal. But we still had the hosts for each table, and they were just supposed to bless whoever sat at their table and bring everything that's needed. So it makes it such a feasible event, in my opinion, because Renee and I don't have to do all the work.
Right.
We have to advertise, and get it out there, and we have to get a speaker, and we have to arrange the tables, and do a few other things. But really, the table hosts do a lot of the work. So the work is all spread out, and not all those people need to meet and have a committee and all that stuff. They don't have to do, they just have a job to do that night. So for Renee and I don't have to make sure it's pretty. I don't have to order any food. I don't have to do any of that. I don't have to make sure everything matches. I don't care if it all matches. Everybody's table is unique. So it's really, it was a great event this year, and next year we have to have a bigger space for it. We will.
What a good problem to have, a good team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I picked up on just a couple of things that I would like to touch on, follow up with, is first of all, you mentioned that you need to market it, promote it. Tell us a little bit about how you did that.
Yeah, so St. Ignace is trying to make Christmas like a Christmas, the beginning of the month, be a big deal. So our chamber had an activity of the week every night that same week. And so that people working with the chamber go to the Baptist church and we're friends. And so they said, hey, when I heard you're having a Christmas tea, would you like us to promote it with the rest of the stuff that's going on this week? So I said, absolutely. So they stuck it in the newspaper for us and I didn't have to pay.
Right.
So that was nice. And then I just did a Facebook event page, you know, and had all the details. It's free. So no one needed to officially sign up for RSVP, although next year we're thinking about what we want to do to make sure everybody has a seat. But and then just the table hosts themselves, we just encourage anybody who's a table host to try to invite as many people as they can. But then this year was different in that, you know, your people can come and sit at your table, but whoever can also come and sit at your table, anybody who walks in the door, and just be ready and be praying for them, because it's a real outreach. Our Christmas tea isn't full of a bunch of Christians. It really just isn't. It's not a night for Christian ladies to come and hear a sweet message. And that's a wonderful thing, I think, for people to do. But for my community, like we want people to hear the gospel on this night. That's really important to our team. Between me and Renee, and our team is growing. We've got 2 more people joining us this year. But for us, being outreach minded was our biggest focus. And really the people who came in the door, I probably didn't know 60% of them. And if I did know them, they were not from a church for the most part, which was really awesome. Like,
I bet.
We met our goals. So that was
You
good.
met your goals. You superseded.
Yeah.
God was really good that day. Or, I mean, he always is, but what a good, it sounds like a great outcome overall, and something that really probably will start to have maybe a yearly tradition, it sounds like, that maybe you can build next year upon what you already done what you provided this last year, and people might already look forward to it.
Definitely. I had people messaging me afterwards and saying, how do I get invited to that next year? So
nice.
I was like, you were invited this year and you just didn't know. So I gotta find other ways to get the word out, for sure. And I have a list of them in my phone, because we're such a small community that, like, next year when it comes close to it, I have their names so that I can make sure I personally say, hey, I remember you wanted to come last year. So,
Absolutely. So one of the things that I heard you saying as well is collaboration. You collaborated with the chamber. You collaborated with other churches, and then you actually collaborated that evening or the day of in order to ensure that everybody that came through the door was intentionally greeted and felt comfortable at the tables. Is there anything else that you guys, I mean, it sounds like you didn't have a lot of meetings where you got everybody together, but it sounds like it worked well. What were your what did the prep look like? Did you email the table host? Did you have telephone conversations with them?
I had a handout that they all got by mail, or that Renee handed to them, because she was our table host coordinator. So she made sure that they knew what size tablecloths to bring, you know, because that can be a big deal if you get there and your tablecloth doesn't fit. So, and they knew how many seats, you know, were going to be at their table. And then she let them each know what the mission for the night was. And then the night of, we gathered everybody and just made sure everybody knew that we wanted them to, you know, sit at the table with their guests, but also to serve their guests. So we did have men also this year, which was a new addition, coming around with tea and coffee. So that was really cool. They enjoyed doing that. The ladies enjoyed having them, but we wanted the table host to serve the food and just kind of bless everybody extra in that way and make them feel special. So we made sure that they knew that the night of as well. So, you know, that went well. We had one snafu where somebody thought we were supposed to be serving prime rib. at the event, and where they were upset that we didn't have prime rib. But you know, I don't expect a repeat of that, but you just never know what people think.
You know, you get feedback and you use it just as feedback. And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so if you're going to have prime rib, what's that date?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Everybody listening to this recording would be there.
Everybody would be coming, and it would be free and everything.
So you hear that, ladies? I think we should all show up the day of this ladies' Christmas tea and anticipate our prime rib.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess probably the last thing that I wanted to touch on is you had mentioned some of the dreams for next year, that you're already adding 2 women to the team. What are some of the other things that you can foresee that maybe you hope to implement for the next year for 2020?
I think the people we invited, we intentionally invited, and made sure that they knew what the mission was, you know, that it is an outreach minded, not just to gather all the ladies that already go to church, that it is outreach minded, and that we pick them from other churches, so not just our church. So for us, that collaboration piece and the outreach piece is such a big deal. You know, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can really think of, but other than that, what's that? Yeah, the space. I mean, obviously the space next year we're going to use our sanctuary instead of having a separate room where, you know, someone speaks and then we all go into a separate room. Next year we'll use the largest space we have, which is our sanctuary. So we just have to think of like the logistics of how will the service go, when will we eat, and you know, when will the speaker speak, so we don't have people eating while the speaker is speaking, and those sort of logistics, and how we'll have people RSVP to make sure we have the right number of chairs, and, you know, don't have anybody show up that we have to turn away. So those are good problems, but yeah.
Very good problems.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I know that I've already learned a lot from you. First of all, that, you know, you had said that you guys were there 9 years, and I think it's important for any of the ladies who are out there that are on their 2nd or 3rd or 4th year, or maybe even their 6th year. And for some of them, it might be 11 years, that this isn't something that happened overnight. It sounds like it took a season of building relationships and waiting for the community to have that perfect opportunity to have connection, and then be prepared. It sounds like you were prepared to say yes when they said, do you want us to add the ladies' tea to the calendar? And so I think that just you've given us some encouragement and hope that you know, we should keep going and keep pressing on. And we know that ministry is not a sprint. It is definitely a marathon, and we need to be able to stay focused on really the true mission is to continue and to look for others to come alongside us, and then when they do, empowering them. And I think that was a huge benefit, is when you empowered Renee to come to join you.
Yeah, it was funny when you asked me to talk about this. I said, well, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And, you know, she was willing to do so much of the legwork, and I helped with some of the, you know, advertising especially, but this was her big dream that she wanted to do. And then, you know, I was thinking, as we do move forward to next year, I would like to have a small group start for women in January. That was one of the things that I wanted to implement, so that, you know, obviously we, at the end of the service, invited ladies to all churches in the area, not just ours, because obviously other churches are helping ours. So we're not going to say, just come to Lighthouse Assembly. That doesn't make sense. But, you know, to have a follow-up small group that starts soon after that, we can invite ladies to next year, I think would be a great addition to it. And then, I feel like supporting people who are called and have dreams to do big things is one of my main missions as a pastor's wife. I don't have to be the leader on everything. I can help steer people in the right direction, and that's definitely necessary at certain points, but I want people to be able to do what they're called to do. And so I like to support people who have that dream, that passion, desire to tell other people about the Lord and just help be their cheerleader, their coach, their champion. It's one of my biggest jobs here at the church. So,
well, it sounds like you do a great job, and it makes me want to come to your church.
You're welcome.
I guess if we had a 3-hour commute,
yeah, it's a long way.
A perfect storm, and I really don't like crossing the bridge, but I would. So, yeah. But how exciting! Is there anything else you want to add before we end our time together?
I don't think so. I guess just for everybody who's doing what I'm doing in especially a small church, it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Don't get so tired trying to do everything all at once, all of the time, and be everything to everybody. It burns you out, and I've stopped trying to do that. Just do the next thing God asks me to do, support the people that need the support. I can only do what I can do. So keep doing what you can do and where your gifts are. And God uses that. He's a big God, and he can use the little bit that we have to give. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I just want to end with I guess I would like to know if somebody would like to get a hold of you to ask a little bit more questions, inquire, how could they reach you?
Well, on Facebook would be fine. I'm just on there as Missy Hess. My little name's in the corner right down here. And so if you search that, you'll find me. I'm happy to talk to anybody. This was such a simple event, and I do love events like this. We have 2 that are like this in our church that we have to meet and organize and things, but it basically I call it runs itself. Once you get the hang of it and people love it, you find some niche that that works, that people like, and that you've got lots of help to do, and it can kind of run itself and run very similarly every year. It doesn't create so much work, and it really, people come. I mean, for my small church, having like 70 to 75 women come to this thing, and 60% of them not being from this church is just huge. So
it really is. It really is. Well, I look forward to having you on again and talking about some of the other things you do. I know that we didn't even touch on the fundraiser piece because I know that you had fundraisers, but I think maybe we should hold off and have you back. Now that we have this whole videoing Zoom out.
we know how to do it.
Well, we hope we do.
Yeah.
And if you ladies are watching it, we figured it out. So we'll have you back, and we'll talk about the fundraising opportunities that you provide and how this really is yet another outreach / opportunity to raise some support and provide a service or an opportunity in the community. So, well, great. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to having you back. But in the meantime, keep doing what you're doing. And thanks again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.